Hello guys, this is Hoppa speaking with his voice. Yes. And we are at a beautiful Glidercentre Noordkop. It's in the north of North Holland where I live. And you can see it here. This is a tow winch that pulling the plane up with a long cable. And the runway is about 1250 meters. The tow winch takes the plane about 400 to 450 meters above the ground. And then the pilot, they touch the cable, the winch pulls it back to earth. And you can see Simon over here, that is the pilot where I fly with. And Simon preparing the car to pull the winch cables to the end of the runway.
Zo lekker rijden.
And you can see my family over here.
Ja.
Talking small talks.
Leuk.
We mogen allemaal met de zoonlectie door het Westelijkse dorp.
Doorblokken.
Yes, yes. My wife was invited to drive a Solex. That is a small moped, how do you call it? So and there we go to the car and to drive to the end of the runway where all the planes are. And Simon is helping the winch tower to put the cables on the right position after the car. That's done, and now we are leaving our friends. Tree has to wait for the next time the car goes to the end of the runway. And we sat in comfortably in a chair and to watch the planes take off.
Nee, dit is, we hebben dit land.
Now my wife asked van if this is a company of this man, the driver. But no, it is a glider club and they rent it from a church community. You cannot drive too speedy because otherwise things go wrong with the cables. Now we are at the takeoff site. The landing strip and takeoff strip. And you can see my son Rick on the right side and my wife on the left side. There is a plane taking off. It's a beautiful sight. And I'm not expecting, because we planned this for 2 years to take a flight with this plane, but COVID prevent us for taking the trip. This is the controller. This man controls the starting and landing and watch if everything is going following order. And there that plane is going in the air, you can see it. A few meters is necessary to get off the ground. And it's a beautiful sight, and the only thing you hear in that plane is a little bit of wind noise. And there we go again.
Gaat hard hoor.
Yes. Now we can fly. And there he goes. And up in the air he goes. It's a beautiful sight. And I think now is the time, the landing, if they can fly without thermal lift for about 7 minutes. That is not so much, of course. Our flight was during 7 minutes also. And then you go from 450 meter to 200, and if you are on 200 meters above the ground, then you have to go to the landing site. There's another one going. If he raises his hand, the tower can see that he is prepared to take off. And if he does his hand of his arm straight, then the plane goes off. The cable is slowly pulled to the plane, and if it is tight and straight, then the man with his arm up goes with the arm straight, and then the plane takes off. Here's another landing. This is my other son, Mark. He is filming the landing of that plane. They have brakes, but that is all they have. Some glider planes uses water to make the wings a little bit heavier. And they must release it if they land. And now it's time for us to go to the plane. Cockpit will be up. Yes, and this is very exciting for me. You can see me here. A little scared I was, of course, but I didn't let's see that to the others. And now I'm talking to Simon what the things in the cockpit are, how we go to fly. And yeah, he explained that, but the wind prevents me to record all of it. This is my sitting position. It's about the same as Max Verstappen sits in his car. You lie there instead of sitting. Simon tells me what to do when we go up. So I have strapped in my safety gear. My wife points out what is wrong with the belt, but I think it's okay.
Het is wel goed zo hoor.
So, yeah, obviously she wants me down again. And now we are in the cockpit, waving.
Ja, we gaan nog niet.
We're not going yet. And now Simon tells me how the instruments work. The stick.
Ja, die gaat een klein stuk bewegen. Hetzelfde geldt voor de blauwe hendel die hier zit, die gebruiken we bij de oefening. Wanneer je hier aan trekt, komt op de vleugels kijkt, komen die van je borden eruit.
Air brakes.
Aan de andere kant zijn steeds, ja. Ja, dat zwemmelt er, hè.
Now Simon tells me all about the instruments on the plane. He's looking at the instruments. Simon tells me what they are, and there are several instruments in that plane. An anemometer, I don't know how to pronounce that, for measuring the airspeed, an altimeter for reading the height, a variometer for vertical speed, and compass. And on some of the glider planes you can have a turn coordinator and an accelerometer used for acceleration, and tools like a radio and a GPS unit. And I must say that taking off, that I was a little bit scared to that, because the forces and the feeling in your belly That's a very different feeling than if you walk on your 2 feet on the ground. But one of the most basic indicators, and that's the jaw string. And that is important that it always is in the middle. And you can see the wind direction to the flight of the glider, and if it's off, not in the center, left or right, then the pilot needs to correct the plane because using the rudder, of course. Otherwise, the fuselage is off by some degrees to the flow of the air, and it will generate a lot of drag. And that completes the instruction of Simon. Simon is an instructor. He can teach other people to fly with this plane. Now the cockpit is going closed. I have to close the windows and.
Kijk, ik kan zo met z'n...
And that little window is closed, and now we can, if the man there attach the cable to the plane, then we can go flying. Oh.
Ja hoor.
Picture shot, yes. And my family goes to their chairs again and to see me fly off. And it's now almost time to take off. And there we go. Cable is tightened. There we go, you can see it. And there we go in the air, whoop, with 100 km/h. And there we go. Beautiful. And it was spectacular. This was my first flight in a glider plane, and I did some flight with planes before that, and they were some kind of special planes. In Dutch or in Holland we have the Fokker 4, and one of my bosses in that time, a year of, I think 25 years ago, he had that plane. And with that plane he performed a little bit aerobatics, loopings, stall turns, rolls, like that, things we do in War Thunder, of course. And it's called the Fokker S11. It was a trainee plane, and it is used by I think the older F-16 pilots that we have in the Netherlands. They learn to fly on that S11, Fokker S11. And the other one that I fly with is a Dakota, and that is World War II plane. Another plane that was a Beechcraft 2-engine plane, and we did that a flight from Lilytown. And then we fly to Amsterdam, we land on Schiphol, and then we taking off again and we go back to Lilytown, Lelystad in Dutch. So now we are flying and about 80 kilometers an hour. Our altimeter about 350 meter. Yeah, that is what Simon says.
En een leuke waterpartij.
Ja, dat is een soort vismigratie-achtige waterpartij.
Zo.
And we are trying to turn again.
Dan moet ik even denken, dat ligt meer langs de linkervleugel nu. Dus nu naar de linkervleugel kijken.
Now we're flying over the landscape of the northern of Holland, and it's totally flat. You can see it with a lot of villages and farmers and meadows. Very beautiful if you are living there, and I do that for 70 years now. So I'm very happy to be there in that country.
Maar dat woordtunder, speelt u dat met een joystick?
And now he asked me about War Thunder, what I do with it. No, I say to him, mostly I fly bombers,
van die
I like
je
bombers.
kan wel wat sneller draaien.
Ja.
En het nadeel is weer, je kan...
Yeah, and I used to use a joystick for flying, but I don't do that anymore.
Maar ik kreeg meestal een
And now I do only keyboard and mouse.
En dan vind je daar dat plasje.
Now we are flying in a corner to see the Amstel Lake. And what you see over there is the IJsselmeer of the Markermeer, the Marker Lake. A little bit of farming down below, and yeah, the image is not as sharp as it could be, and that is a pity, of course. But I think my phone see too much of the cockpit to and take that in the sharpness and not the surrounding meadows. But that is not a problem. You can see it in water, and you can see it better, of course. Now he speaks in English that we are going to return to the airstrip.
2 november downwind. Dat betekent dat ze weten dat wij er weer aankomen.
Ja.
Nou, we hebben geen wielen die we in kunnen klappen.
And we need to have a height in about 200 meter, and we are at 200 meter at the moment. And now we are flying to the end of the strip. A little bit further, of course, you have to turn.
Dat zijn onderdelen van mijn checklist die ik moet afwerken voordat we gaan landen. Nou, we moeten altijd even voorbij het veld vliegen.
Dat heb ik, hè. Je kan niet te snel draaien natuurlijk.
Nee. We hebben wel afgesproken dat we niet boven de boerderijen langs gaan, dus daar gaan we meteen in.
And now we are going in a left turn back to the landing strip, and then we retracted the air brakes that we have, the orange things, the air brakes. And in Watertender I like to having air brakes because you are pretty fast to the ground if you want, and that especially need when you are pursued by enemy fighters. And now on the right side there is the family. Yes, and slow down a little bit, but it's not sharp, but they are waving to me. That is very nice. Yes, guys, I'm here up in the sky and I'm going back to the ground. Landing approach over here.
Dat is fantastisch.
Ja, dat is leuk.
And now we are driving on the grass. So this is this is the flight. Now we are landing. He has brakes, the plane has brakes, so we can use that.
Ja, ja.
And we are landed. So
En dan zijn we weer geland.
Heel goed.
that was the flight of 7 minutes in the air at Glidercentre Noordkop. Yes. People at the Noordkop says to me, if you are in the air and down, you have a big smile, and that is correct. I had a big smile. I'm going to do that. I make it something beautiful to watch for you all. And this is a special, a special thing. Now we are towing the plane to the end of the runway, so we can take off again with the pilot on board. And that was the flight, guys, and I see you maybe in another one, you never know, or one of my kids does the same thing, and we are going to watch that. Alright guys, bye bye.